Hi there, I'm Chris. I'd like to thank you for spending your time clicking on the video, and I hope that you can get something out of this video. This is a follow-up to, or an addition to the last video I did about not meaning to, or not that you weren't meant to fit in. What I'd like to talk today is about those of us who are wired different. And I'd like to share my experience and the things that I've learned in the hopes that you can reframe your experience and replace the label of a disorder. I've never felt that it was a disorder. I've always thought that it was, although challenging, that there's a lot of gifts that we have that a lot of other people don't have. And I'm hoping also that I can help educate other people so that they know the kind of experience that we have. And so throughout this video, I'll end up saying us, or referring to us like a group, and I want to recognize too that everybody's different, but there's these common traits that I've noticed, and that I'm sure you've noticed with other people who are similar to us, that these common things that we share. So I'm hoping that just my experience will help you in moving forward with your life and make things a little bit easier. So I grew up back in the day when they didn't have a name for us being wired different. I was referred to as a little haywire. And just for a little trivia, haywire, it came from baling wire. They used to use haywire to bind up the bales of hay. And if you've ever worked with it, it comes in a metal spool. And what happens is if you unspool that and it gets out of control, it flies all over the place. And so the term was meant for things that didn't work properly or that were out of control or unruly. And so that's kind of how I was labeled as a kid growing up, that I was hard to deal with and disruptive. In my school experience, we'll go back. Actually, how I've always kind of thought of it, instead of being a haywire, I've always thought of us as spirited, which is kind of ironic because my experience in going through school from grade 1 to grade 7, I was raised in the Catholic school. And I'm not here to crap on or single out any particular thing. I'm just telling my experience. And although there were some challenges and some harshness that was there, I also got some amazing gifts from that schooling. It taught me a lot of really good, a lot of the morals that we should all be living by, with treating people well, caring about other people like you want to be treated, and things like that. But back in the day, at the Catholic school, they still believed in whacking the spirit out of you. And so that's what was ironic with the term, me saying spirited, because at that time there was corporal punishment. And at that time, even the public schools, it was the public schools that just stopped it, but it was still in my school. And so during the whole time in my challenges that I had with schooling, if you stepped out of line and you were unruly, you'd get a whack. And usually that was reserved for the matriarch of the school, Sister Amelia. And if I was in line and being all loud and stuff, she'd come by and give me a little whack in the back of the head. And I also don't mean to make it sound like she was a bad person, because like with everything, there's the good and the bad, and she was an amazing person. So she'd give you that whack when you stepped out of line, but she was also the person who gave the best hugs. If she ever saw that you were hurt or you're crying, if you fell down and scraped your knee, she was the one there to give you a big hug. She always had candies in her pocket, and she'd hand out candies to people and stuff. So I don't want to disparage her in any way, because she was just a product of her times too. And so back in the day, if you stepped out of line, that's what they did, is they gave you a whack. My my experience right from the get-go, I was, as far as I can remember, I was pretty much the only one in the school. So it was a small school, just about over 100 students. There's about 15 people in each class, give or take. And so I ended up going through my whole schooling kind of being the only kid that had the wiring like I did, which really singled me out. And should have been, I guess, a difficult experience, but just who I am, it never really changed my spirit. I always, one of the things, there's a lot of these characteristics that we had that I found really great. And now it posed challenges, because in class, you'd have to stay quiet. I'd get really bored quickly. And one of the things that helped me get through everything is that I've always been like a kind-hearted person. And one of the things that we have too is that we're quick-witted. And so my humor got me through a lot of the times. If you looked at all my report cards from all of my schooling, they would say, Chris is a pleasure to have in school and makes the classroom fun, but he really needs to learn how to focus. And that's kind of like the story of all of our lives, that it's hard to focus. And it's not that it's hard to focus, because we actually have an unbelievable ability to focus. We just have a hard time focusing on stuff that's not exciting to us. If it's boring, we kind of want newness and variety, and to be stuck on one task over and over again just is excruciating for us. I remember when we were having to learn cursive writing, and you'd have to just do pages and pages of like an E over and over and over and over and over and over, and that was just mind-numbing. So at those times when we were doing that stuff, I would be disruptive, because I'd be so bored that I'd be making jokes and stuff, which the teachers didn't appreciate at all. Although they thought I was funny, they didn't like it. And so often I would either get detentions, which was kind of funny, because the detention was that I had to stay, not go out to recess. I'd have to stay inside, and then I'd have to write lines saying, I will not speak out in class, or something along those lines. But the funny thing with that is I ended up, so what they would do is they'd say, oh, you have to do like 2 pages or 1 page or whatever. As I spoke out more, they would put tick marks on the chalkboard for another detention. So it would be more pages and more pages and more pages. But I ended up finding a hack for that. I found that if you could put 2 pens together and hold them in your hand, you could write 2 sentences at the same time. So I would quickly try to race through, and they weren't marking me whether it was messy or not. So I'd quickly whip through by writing 2 sentences the whole time, finish my pages, and then so I could go run out outside. One of the things is during those lunch hours and everything, one of the things that they taught us in school, which I thought was really great, is they would, if you were walking through a door, you were always meant to hold the door open for people. And being the hyper little guy that I was, I'd always want to race out and get out into the field as soon as I could, which often meant that I was the first person at the door. And if somebody else was behind me, I'd have to hold that door. So what would end up happening is that I'd have to hold that door open till the whole school cleared out, which was kind of funny. Um, with school, it was really challenging because the you always had to do the boring stuff, and my way to get through that was to make things fun and exciting. And so I remember one year in grade 7, the teacher had enough. I had been speaking out, and the reason we speak out, what would happen is that often um, we have so many things going through our head. So we've got so much stuff racing through our head. So if the teacher's asking a question, um, I would yell out the answer, and I wouldn't yell out the answer because I thought my answer was more important or anything. But there were so many things going through my head that it was almost as if I didn't get it out. I was afraid that it was going to be gone because there were so many thoughts racing through my head, and I'm sure you can empathize with that same kind of similar thing, that our brains are going on overdrive all the time. There's tons and tons of thoughts going in there, and it's really hard not to yell out because, like I said, because you want to put it out before, and then you're on to the next thought right after. So for other have another thing that we do is we're easily distracted, or I was easily distracted. It was a lot like the Doug there in that animated movie Up with the squirrel. I love that character because it embodied me so much that your mind's quickly zipping from one thing to the other because we've got so many thoughts rolling through our head so quickly, and which can be very challenging as an adult in relationships. Can be very challenging because if you're with somebody who's not wired the same way that you are, you can be in deep conversations, really important conversations, and they'll say something that all of a sudden it sparks something in your head, and once again you got to like yell it out because you feel like you're going to be missing it. And then what it does is the person that you're talking to, they're thinking that this deep conversation or important conversation that you're having has that it's meaningless to you, and it's not that. And so it's quite challenging in relationships because they think you're not paying attention or it doesn't mean anything, and that's not it. It's just I was wired different, and so that can be a challenge. And so there's a lot of these challenges that we have that aren't insurmountable. They're just about learning those things and kind of trying to slow your brain down if you can and stay on task, realizing that others aren't, their brains aren't working as quickly as ours are. One of the great things too that I'd like to point out is there's a lot of benefits that we have that other people don't have. For instance, one of the things is I'll speak for myself. I don't have a hard time saying us, but for me, I have the ability to multitask with a whole bunch of different things, where other people would look at you and say, well, how can you do that many things? And it's because I can do a whole bunch of things. Now, it can be a little distracting. You have to be careful too, because there's a tendency to have so many things on your plate that you don't finish them all. And so that's a thing that I've had to learn over time, is to kind of corral those multitasks and then really enjoy completing those tasks. And so if you can kind of downsize it a bit, because I know for me, there's so many things that I want to do all at the same time. And part of that is just because I kind of get bored. And so one of the great things is if you do all these multitasks, it's great to zip from one, zip to the other, and then keep coming back to the once till it's completed, because don't add more onto your plate, because if you keep adding more and more, you're just not going to get anything done. So if you can kind of learn to kind of corral yourself into the few tasks, and that way you avoid the boredom of the same routine over and over and over. I'd also like to point out and draw your attention to this really great book called The ADHD Advantage. And in that book, it really highlights occupations and traits that we have that will help you in your life going forward, finding jobs that give you both variety and newness all the time. Because the thought for me of being in an office having to do the same thing over and over every day is just hellish. So for me, what I chose to do is I got into purchasing properties, where I had to learn how to, that I took it upon myself to learn a whole bunch of different skills. And so I learned how to do plumbing, electrical. And so even though there was a routine and that I would have to be doing the same kind of task, it was enough that you have that variety, that it was always something new. And so if you can end up finding a job that provides those kind of things, and this book's really great because it talks about all of these really successful people who have found jobs. One of the things that we also fall into is that there's a lot of us who are entrepreneurs. One of the skills that we have is that we're not afraid of newness. And so a lot of people have difficulty with engaging in an activity that they're not familiar with. I know for myself, I just loved doing everything and nothing would hold me back. Another thing that's a really big skill is getting over things quickly. For me, if I had an experience that wasn't a positive experience, I didn't get stuck on it and think, okay, and feel kind of shame or something from it. I would learn from that experience and then quickly move on and not think of it again, other than the lessons that I've learned in that. So that's another thing that's normals have difficulty with, is being stuck and feeling, I'm never going to do that thing again because it went bad. And so that's another superpower that we have. I've also found that if you can find those occupations that provide all of those things, life can be really exciting. So trying to fit yourself in that conventional role is going to be very, very difficult for you. So your success is going to be finding something that provides all of the newness, excitement, and everything. So if I can give some advice, try to do that. Being a square peg in a round hole is just going to be very difficult. One of the other jobs that I had is I worked, I mentioned before, with people with developmental physical challenges. And in doing that, I've spent a lot of time working with people with autism on the whole spectrum, both adults and children. And I'd like to point out to you people too, how much of a gift that you have that society doesn't see. What I see with people with autism is an amazing ability to see the truth and purity in the world. There's a lot of, for instance, the idea of sarcasm is just something that doesn't make any sense to a lot of people with autism. Because if you really look at it, it's kind of a put down. Or it's not kind of a put down, it is. It's supposed to be a joke, sarcasm. But being pure and seeing the true essence of the reality of the thing, it's just hurtful words. And so it's really challenging. And so what the world views you as different. And in my eyes, I think that it's amazing the gifts that you have in seeing the world in a really pure and honest way. And it's really challenging, I know, because depending where you are on the spectrum, if if you present as normal, people will perceive that there's just a little something different and they're not exactly sure what it is, and it just kind of makes them uncomfortable. And what I want you to know is that that's their issue, that's not your issue. I think the gifts that you have are many, and so don't allow those labels or those just because somebody else is uncomfortable to make you uncomfortable. Know that all of those things that you have are gifts, and if you can help the rest of the world see those gifts instead of retreating, if you could share those, that will help to go a long way to enlighten other people of the world that people are living in. Where else do I want to go? You know what? I think that might be it. I just like to remind you, both all of us people who are wired different, that although there's challenges, the challenges aren't insurmountable, and that you can make it through. And don't let people take away your spirit. Those are all gifts, and they're gifts for the world. And find your lane and run with it, and the world will be a very happy place for you. Take care. Thank you, and I hope you have a happy day.